Hello everyone, this is Mini Ninja speaking. Kind of having to catch up on a few different videos on this point, so let's start with the oldest of the figures, being the Beast Deities 006 Waghoba figure, which as you can see here is kind of a Beast Deities classic in terms of how they boxed up the figure. Basically you have the main body, kind of its own little clamshell case here, and in terms of the accessories for a base figure, you have all the hands, energy effects in this case, as well as a generic animal head, all put behind the clamshell, at least it would have been in the package there, with these fancy, high-quality Ziploc bags that they glued in there. They definitely spared the expense on there, but frankly, you don't mind terribly because the interesting parts, which are the recognizable character, appear in the different separate box for legal reasons, which is something we'll elaborate a little more on later. Now, when we take a look at the other boxes, here's where the character suddenly becomes recognizable. It's Son-Goku, with the Battle Damaged Key, of course. And the clamshells here are basically of a Super Saiyan 1 and 2 form, but much to my surprise, because I completely forgot about it, this set also includes a base Goku head sculpt set. So, that's actually how we're going to be starting this presentation. Namely, we have here with the more recognizable form of Goku here, but with a messed up shirt, and we're going to do the official register of how tall he is, namely roughly about 6 inches tall from the top of the average head, and if you count the top of his hair, roughly 6.5 inches, which puts him a little taller than most standard SH figure art toys, I feel. Now, as we're doing kind of the stress test as well as the articulation checkup, you can kind of see it kind of much covers what you would expect out of a proper 3.0 figure, namely being about roughly 30 points of articulation there, although I will say some of these articulation points, namely the hands, I feel, are a tad looser than others. While on the other hand, you have stuff like the shoulders, which I believe I put a little bit of shock oil on this particular one, but all in all, it wasn't too bad. The butterfly joints are honestly very serviceable. Not exactly the most amount of movement, just because of the way the shirt kind of cuts in there, and also some issues with flashing, I should say. So it might not have been the most cleanly assembled figure in this case, but that's all rectifiable pretty easily. And the butterfly joints, not exactly even between the both arms, but they are serviceable and have some decent reach on there. Upper torso, odd cut of the shirt, but it does allow for a lot of bend forward and back. Well, more bend forward I should say in this case, but it's entirely serviceable. Hip rotation, entirely serviceable, no issues there. Figure has a good set of splits on there. Legs themselves are a bit lanky, I feel, which is partially why this toy is slightly taller than the originals. But in terms of the articulation, like the hip rotation there, the double bend of the knee, the ankle joints and toe joints, everything works just fine. Everything's nice and tight. I've got no issues whatsoever. So in terms of a main body, beautiful. No issues. Well, very few issues, let me correct myself. But entirely a serviceable figure. Now the faceplates, at least on the base head here, a little more hit or miss. Obviously you can see that, much like the original face you see on there, this one, I find my main issue with these base figure faces, for the applicable ones, is that the face itself is placed a little too low on the head. Now I know that so the bangs don't exactly cover them up, otherwise you'd be missing a lot of detailing there, but while you have certain ones like this yellow one where it looks perfectly fine because the face is also slightly larger it feels, on the other ones it acts up. Super Saiyan head here though, it's not quite as noticeable just because you're used to seeing more forehead on this particular form of Goku, but there's still a bit on the low side. And there's also a slight issue I find on at least the Super Saiyan head. Beautiful detailing there, especially like the really contoured, the slight gradient in the hair color, I should just want to point that out. But all in all, I feel at least on this one, the head or the hair sculpt doesn't fit quite as clean on there. I was able to adjust a little more off camera, so pardon the fact that it looks like it's slightly off kilter in some of this footage, but at this point it actually works just fine, I find. But it still needs some work. Like here, it's better positioned on this one, just for point of concept, as well as the fact that this also has the Super Saiyan 2 hair on there, which honestly everything fits under just fine, everything plugs in just fine. Now in terms of facial details or facial expressions, not too much to go with. A lot of them have Goku looking off to the side for some reason rather than straight on like on this yellow face, which is an interesting pick, but I would have probably preferred some more straight on views on there because the other ones are very subjective. Now, legit figure on the left. That's the event exclusive Son-Goku version 2, or Super Saiyan 2. Demonic outfit was on the right there. And the third figure, actually I haven't made the video for this one either, so we'll fix that later. But generally speaking, height-wise, pretty in key with the rest of the toy line, as well as other third-party figures. Accessories. Honestly, we have quite a few hands to go with, including the silly animal hands. But in terms of Goku's hands, your fists, your grappling hands, your ki blast hands, your effect holding hand in this case, as well as an effect piece, which honestly, it looks great, but I feel mine might have been a little warped, so the energy beams, as great as they look, don't stick in there properly for a lot of them, or fall out very easily, which is a pity, because if this thing could be properly assembled, it would look amazing. So that might be a quality control issue, since I've seen other people assemble it just fine, so I might have just not looked out there. So, all in all, interesting figure. A lot more stuff going on in terms of accessories. I really like the fact that it has both the base and Super Saiyan forms. Some QC issues. I would say I could recommend this as a kind of an alternative to the event exclusive figure if it wasn't for the small issue that the company is dead technically, and you can't buy this regularly anymore. We'll go into more of that detail later, but yeah. That's the only reason I can't give you a full recommendation. It doesn't exist anymore, and you can't buy this thing normally. So, I guess we'll have to talk more about that with the next review. Talk to you later.